So Keith, thanks for coming.
Thanks,
totally
Tom.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me.
Yep. So I think you're is this our third or fourth or fifth? Fourth person, and we're going to keep trying to do this. If we can do this 6 or 7 times a year with a different age, and I want to get Andy up here. Andy's seen a couple of other people as well. But I've known Keith for a long time, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on Keith. We emailed back, but I've known Keith for a long time. We did a deal, and it was funny. You sent me some notes. That deal on Beret. What year was that? Do you remember?
Yeah, that had to have been like 2001.
Okay.
2000, somewhere around there.
So we did a deal back in 2001. So that was before we started Intero, and I was still selling houses. And I was the listing agent on that deal, right? And that kind of began the journey of me just being on this guy nonstop to come work at Intero. So he got in the business in 1998.
Can I share that story real quick before you do it?
Go ahead.
I have to tell this story. So the Beret story is great because it was multiple offers. We write an offer on Tom's listing, and Tom's like, well, Keith, I can get your clients in, but only under one condition. And I'm like, okay, Tom, what's that? He goes, well, if we accept your offer, I'm going to call you every single day of this transaction to get you to come work with us. And I said, so my client will get the deal if I agree to that. He's like, yeah. I'm like, done. Go ahead. So, and sure enough, every single day, from hey, Tom, hey, Tom, hey, Tom. Fantastic.
So there's
great follow-up.
So there's a common theme, I think, with you see with like Kim Connor and Alana Lamb and Lana Pierce and a lot of the people at Andy C. A lot of you that are in Intero, it's like persistence is my middle name. I think you guys all pretty much kind of know that. So let me just give you a little background on him. Again, so he's been in the real estate business since 1998. So that's about 15 years.
Yep,
15 years. He joined Intero in 2006, so it took me 5 years of bugging him to get him to finally come over and see the light. I can remember me and Gino and Brian Crane. Did Brian go? And JT, we took you out to dinner at Forbes Mill.
Yep.
And that was kind of when we got you to come over, which was awesome. He's so far, his best year ever in real estate before joining Intero was he closed 40 transactions.
Oh, that's with Intero.
Excuse me, it was 25 transactions. His best year since coming to Intero, he closed 40 transactions. And this year he has a goal of closing 50 transactions, making $750,000 in gross closed commissions. And he's actually on pace to do that. As a matter of fact, I saw you at the Giants game on Friday, and you told me you had closed how many deals last week?
Last week we closed 6.
6 deals last week. So that's a year for most people, which is awesome. Let's see. And so currently to date, he's closed 26 deals with gross closed commissions of $485,000. He's got 6 additional pendings. That's going to be about $140,000 in gross closed commissions. So with that, amazing.
And I'm the shortest guy you've had up here.
Well,
Andy might be coming, but we're close. So, yeah, that's right.
Gino's not far behind, but that's another story. Got you, Gino. Anyway.
Oh, I love it.
Anyway, so go back to like when you got started in '98. Just tell us a little bit about what you did to get your real estate career started. What were the activities that you were doing? Maybe even a little bit about what did you do before you got into real estate that got you motivated to get into real estate?
Okay, that's a good one. I actually got in real estate because of my father. My father was in real estate, so I'm second generation. Actually, my son's going to be third generation. He's floating around here right now. But he's the one that got me in. I lived in Chicago, and I have my background is criminal law and psychology. That's where I come from.
Perfect for this business.
Yeah, perfect for the business, right? Yeah, criminal law for the realtor, psychology for the clients. It's perfect. But anyways, I got into that business, and my goal was to be an FBI agent. That's what I wanted to do with my life. So, and first I had to do a run as a police officer and go through there. And as I was doing all of my testing to become a police officer, I blew up my back when I was 21 years old. So I couldn't pass physical. So all done. So cooked, hang it up. My dad finally talked to me over and over again to come out here and do this. I finally, picked up the bags and moved to Beverly, right? So we hustled everybody out here. Got out here with my dad, and he kind of had to grease me to get out because I had a pretty good job going out there. And he's like, but you don't understand. All right, come on out here and learn. And so he gets me out here and throws me immediately when I get in.
And what year was that? Do you remember?
That was 98, okay, May of 98.
Okay.
Yep. May of '98 when Kerry Wood struck out 20 guys in a game. That's when I made my move.
He's a baseball guy.
Yeah, and a Cubs fan, by the way.
Yeah, that was the only I made a comment on your Facebook post when I saw a picture of you guys at the Giants. I said, hey, that is an awesome picture with you and Mary. So that's a great picture. I deleted it. Everything except the Cubs jersey. I was going to remember that now.
Should have left it up there. That was perfect. So
you came out, so you didn't know anybody.
Didn't know anybody, didn't know anything, completely green. My dad sat me on a desk with the Mike Ferry postcards. Right, that was it. He goes, here you go. Here's how you start, and I want you just cold calling and farming. My dad was a big farmer, and so I moved into that, of course, as well, and just said, get out there and knock on doors and start calling people, and that was the beginning of how I started.
Okay, so talk a little bit about farming. I know you teach a farming class for us, for all the new licensees, and even for some experienced people over in Cupertino. Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about how you got started with farming. Like, how big of a farm did you start with, and just kind of talk about the evolution of what you did to get that start, kind of that farm going, and what kind of how big it's gotten and what you do today.
Okay. We started, my dad had a place established that was 211 townhomes in Cupertino. So all the way down by the foothills in Cupertino, down in that area. De Anza Oaks was the neighborhood that he started. So, so he had that, and then when I came in, I had, all the grandiose ideas. Let's take over the world. So you've got neighborhoods here, here, here. Let's go start taking them. So I started pounding out the pavements. I didn't have any money back then. My dad goes to, or I go to my dad, I'm like, so what's my marketing budget? I want to take over all these areas. What are you going to give me, to get this going? He's like, well, what do you have in your pocket? And I said, well, I don't have anything. He's like, well, there's your budget. He goes, that's what I started with. That's what you're going to start with, right? So black and white flyers, right? And just went and pounded the pavement, and knocked on doors, and pushed it that way. It took me about a year at that point, not knowing what I know now. It took me about a year to get my first listing in that neighborhood. And you just would get frustrated, right? Because you see all these signs pop up.
So how frequently,
boom, boom.
just because I know it's like this, so, I think the struggles of this business is what I think everybody really wants to kind of hear about. And so it's obviously a year, that's hard. I mean, that's a grind, of busting your butt with no results and getting your first listing. So like how frequently were you knocking on doors? How many doors were you knocking? Kind of that whole thing.
At least every month.
Okay.
So at least every month I would knock, more if I could. And that farm at that particular time was just over 400. Okay. So I'd want to hit every one of them at least every 2 months back then. So that was my goal.
And you were knocking on the door,
knocking on the doors,
yourself.
Introduce themselves. If I didn't knock on the door, I would still give them something, right, and go down the line and just keep going. It was about a year. And I would always call the people that didn't list with me. I'd call them up and ask why they didn't list with me. So, which that was the hardest thing at first.
Yeah.
First, it wasn't hard because you were young and stupid. And then when you started getting the conversations back, oh, wait, this is hard because I'm thinking now.
Yeah.
So you just stop thinking. And so I would go through that. And I remember getting a phone call from Cheryl McCulloch was her name, and she owned one of the townhomes in there. And she calls me up and she's like, Keith, I'm thinking about selling my home, and I wanted to talk to you about it. Right. This was my first call out of the farm, and of course I'm there on the other side of the phone, and I'm just like, okay, well, how can I help you?
Yeah.
So what time at 4 o'clock today or 6 o'clock tomorrow can we meet, right? So, get it all set and get out there. And of course I hang up the phone and then I jump up and do like the chicken dance or something, right? Woo! And I think everybody in the office heard me. Yes, I got it. So get in there, sign with Cheryl. At the time that place was worth $399,000. So we go on the market at $399,000. We sell for $472,000. So that was when we first had this kind of craziness.
Yeah.
So back then, 98 timeframe, 99 is when that happened. And what I had found out from doing the open houses, because the first thing I did was invite all the neighbors. I went out with a special invite to all the neighbors, and I still do that all the time. And all the neighbors came through. So many neighbors came rolling through there, and then that was when it hit me. It was like a light bulb. Everybody knew who I was.
Yeah.
And then I was like,
you'd been knocking on the doors for a year.
Yep, been knocking on the doors, and that was just the domino effect. So once that first one broke, it just, boom, it just teed off. And now, last year we did 50% market share in that farm down there. So, and the year before we were 40%.
That's amazing. I mean, that's like unheard of. I mean, if you can get 15 or 20% in most farms, most people, that's a home run. But to get those kind of numbers is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, that was nice. And then we just expanded. Now we're out in Los Gatos and Cambrian, and we just keep.
So now, so you're cranking a lot of deals. So so how many people? I know you have that farm that you've kept going. Mm-hmm. You've added some additional farms. How many homes total do you have in a geographical farm?
About 2,000. 2,000.
And so, what are you specifically doing? As specific as you can. What do you do on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis to kind of keep in touch with those people and be in front of them?
Okay, so our rule in the system that we use is that we have to knock everybody at least once a quarter. So
Awesome.
that's the rule. So
Yeah.
everybody has to get knocked once a quarter and roll through there. Market data piece has to go out. We try, when we're really trying to amp up and we see somebody else coming in, we amp it up to at least 2 or 3 times a month when somebody's coming in and trying to pick out of our farm. So outside of that, we're there at least once a month, and then we'll add on the just solds and the just listeds and those kind of things to add to it.
Okay, and so you say you're going out knocking, so 4,000 doors a quarter, and so plus it's when you're not knocking the doors, but you're still dropping stuff. Are you mailing stuff, or are you hand delivering stuff, or are you kind of doing a combination?
We
of
do
both?
a combination.
I know, 'cause I've even
Yeah.
been out on broker's tour, I think, a couple of times. I've seen you walking out, dropping things off over in some of your farms. And so for those 4,000 doors, you say we. Is that you? Is that you and Mary? Is it you and your team?
Yeah, so it's me and the team. It's me and Mary mainly. So if anybody doesn't know Mary, she's the complete rock star of this
She
team.
is the rock star.
So,
yeah.
right, so, but Mary, and then Sunny coordinates everything in our business. She keeps us like doing what we're doing. It's funny, when we brought her on, one of the first things I told her is, you have to make sure we do our job.
Right.
Your job is to make sure we do our job. So she does that great. And then we have a couple other realtors that go out. We have agreements with that go and knock doors and
Good
get
knock
stuff
doors
up.
with you. Okay, beautiful. So tell me, what's a typical day or a week like in the life of Keith and Mary? Like, I mean, literally, like, what time do you get up in the morning? What's your routine? Do you working out? Are you, I mean, all that kind of stuff. What's, and I know it's like, I tell everybody, it's like, I think we all have like kind of the perfect day, and you try and keep to it as much as you can. I know there's always little variations and there's things that come up, but in general, what's your typical day or week look like?
I knew you would ask that, so I worked out this morning.
Good, I like it. Me and you both.
I knew it was coming. I'm like, all right, I got to work out this morning. I'm going to be talking to Tom. So Mary is pretty regular. Mary's a machine at that.
And I can tell
yes.
you guys are. I can tell you guys are, which is great.
Yeah, that's the goal, is to get up and do
So
your
what
routine.
time do you guys do that usually? What time does your alarm go off, or what time does your feet hit the floor?
I
in the
usually
morning?
get up about 6:15.
Okay, that's good,
That's my
perfect.
time.
That's awesome.
Mary's a little later.
That's okay. It's okay. It's all good. That's still, you know what? Hey,
I love it. No,
that's
it's all
still
good.
awesome. So
It's
6,
awesome.
6:15, then you work
Yeah.
out and then what's?
Do a little, and then trying to set the day. Like, my main course in the beginning of the morning is to set my day. What do I need to accomplish today? What do I have to do contractually, marketing-wise? What's the prospecting I have to do today? And I set that all up. So I put it all up on my iPad and say, boom, boom, boom. Here's where I'm going. Here's what I'm going to do. And then that's my checklist for the day.
And so do you
And then
operate
just
from a
list it.
schedule?
I do operate from a schedule. So
and a
it's
to-do
a loose. It went from a scheduled schedule to a list schedule.
Yeah.
And that was just me and my coach going back and forth to see what worked for
Yep,
us.
yep.
So now it's a list schedule, and it works really well. We plan all of our presentations are in the afternoon. We don't do a lot of nighttime presentations at all. It's very rare that we'll meet somebody after 6 o'clock.
So talk about that. One of the things I put on here is client control. And so I think that's one of the things so many agents struggle with is they don't control their client, and so their client's dictating what time you're meeting them, what you're doing, how you're doing it, all of that sort of thing, down from the time that you meet to the lenders that you're using to all of that sort of stuff. How do you do that? And how do you find that works for you?
It starts with questions, right?
Yeah.
You question and you get them to give you the answers that set up the stage for you.
Yeah.
Right? And just explaining to people, when we do our first presentations, we say, we're open, we're here, we're available to you. Just remember, we have a life too.
Yeah.
I've got 3 kids. We're active as well, so don't call me at 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. If it's an emergency, shoot me a text message.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'll get back to you and deal with it. But more people than not are very happy they don't want to offend you. They don't want to cross that line. They'll guide with you. You just give them direction.
Yeah.
And they're going to guide with you, and to have a life in this business, I mean, me and Mary are both very, very active in all the activities that we do.
You guys are, because I follow you guys on Facebook. You guys work your butts off, I know, but you guys also have a lot of fun, which is really cool.
Yep. Yeah, we tee it off. We kind of do things as much as possible. The Giants game all weekend, and 3 kids, so that keeps us a little busy as well. I coach wrestling, I coach wrestling. And so to be able to do that, to go for 3 months in the fall and leave at 2 o'clock and come back at 6 o'clock and tackle those things on there, it takes a lot of strategy and a lot of planning to do it right.
And a lot of discipline,
control,
too.
a lot of discipline.
A lot of discipline. Mm-hmm. So talk about your struggle. So one of the things, is you've been doing this now, like we said, for 15 years. You go through 15 years, it doesn't always just kind of go, psh. I mean, I know the first year was a struggle, it doesn't just consistently go up. There's always setbacks along the way, issues, doubts. So talk, maybe give some examples of one of your bigger struggles that you had and how you kind of overcame it.
So business or personal?
Both, either one or one of each. If you got a couple good ones, I think sometimes I think it's all intertwined, as I always talk about a Monday Morning Mojo.
Yeah.
It's like it's all connected. So
Right. So my biggest struggle is probably mindset to start. So, and for me, mindset because of the history that I have.
Yeah.
So, and I was I was abused as a child. I had a rough first marriage. I've kind of gone through, I've gotten to the financial point where I lost everything that I had. So I've been through all of that.
Right.
So, and getting the mindset to that piece where it's like, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to be strong enough to know, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can keep going. I can, whatever I want to accomplish, I can.
Yeah.
And that actually was coaching. Coaching really drove me out of there. So coaching and just the pieces here, and I know all of you know this, but just to roll it in, the support that comes out of this company and comes from you, Tom, personally, and JT and Gino and Brian Crane and the stuff that they do for us. I mean, the environment that we have with Brian is fantastic. Gino sat down for an hour and a half with me and Mary this year to go over our business plan. I mean, who does that, right? I thought that was exceptional. But having that on set and that coaching helped me to get to that mindset where it's like, okay, I can do it. I can do this. 30 was always my block. I always hit right around 25 deals, right? That was always about where I was at. And 30 was the mental block for me. There's no way I can do 30 deals. It was just there. So I had to break past that 30 deals. And when we hit 30 deals in September of last year, I think when we hit that and we hit 30 in September, all of a sudden it was like, holy cow, you can actually do this, right? And then it was like, now it's easy. Because after that, now it's just a number. It just became a number again. But getting to that point and knowing that, when you were struggling and going through, the biggest struggle we had business-wise when we were piecing out at 25 a year on average, we went a 6-month period when that market changed where we sold one house. Okay?
Been there.
We had, yes, right?
I've been there.
We had a high budget. We had, assistants. We had the whole shebang, and we were just overextended, and that was it. And we lost everything. So in 6 months, we lost everything. And so it was like, holy cow, what do you do? And that was like the slap in the face for me. That was like, okay, let's get back down to fundamentals. Okay,
Yeah.
Let's roll up the sleeves, build my schedule again. Right, I got complacent. Right, I got complacent. Like, oh, people are just going to call me. They're going to sell their house. It's fine. This job's easy. So roll up your sleeves. Go back to basics, start pounding the pavement, cold calling, going through all that, going through the coaching, make sure you're accountable. Accountability is there's no measure on accountability. It's really, really important. Because we can never be accountable for ourselves. We can do our best. Tom can, right? Tom's a machine when it comes to accountability for himself. But going into accountability, when you're doing this business, we're always, always, always going to make excuses for ourselves, right? We can always get up, well, it's raining outside today, right? Or, I feel a little under the weather. Maybe I didn't eat something right yesterday. And being able to shut all that stuff out and say, I have to be in the office every morning and I have to treat this like this is my business and this is a career. That's critical, and that's the mindset and basics.
So it's interesting, you talk about coaching, and just, so I often get asked, because, this is kind of the seminar season, right? There's Mike Ferry, and there's Tom Ferry, and there's Brian Buffini, and I often get, of course, those guys are always trying to get people to sign up for coaching, or Lorna Hines, or anybody, right? And so people will always ask me, what do you think? Should I get a coach? I tell people that, look, the coach isn't going to solve your problems. You can't get a coach and not do what the coach tells you and expect that you're the outcome, which is what I think most people do and why they get frustrated with coaching, or sitting down with me or Gina or anybody is, I'm going to sign up for the coaching program, but then they still continue with the same exact behavior they did before they signed up for coaching,
right.
And they get the exact same results, and of course then coaching is a complete waste of money. Where somebody like you, who I know is coached by Tom's organization, and you've met with Gina, and we've talked in the past, and you really just, I think the key always is, if you're going to have a coach, you're coming to jumpstart meetings with me or sales meetings, you have to implement the things that we talk about consistently, or it's just there's no magic pill.
No, there's not, and you have to listen, right? I mean, we were farming people. That's all we did. So it was soft sell, right, door knock and so forth. And I remember going into Brian's office and Brian going, Keith, what do you do out of your sphere? Like, well, really nothing. It's like, so you've been in business for 6 or 7 years and you don't turn business out of your sphere. That's stupid. All right, we're going to fix that. And so we that was a big piece that we went. This year we're at 53% of our business is out of our sphere already. Right?
And that's a huge one. I mean, because I talk to you guys all the time. It's like you saw the email. I think I sent it last night or this morning, which was the CAR email that came out about home improvement stuff. I know Gabe, you sent me an email back, wherever Gabe Gabrielson sent me an email, hey, did it, and he posted it up on Facebook. That stuff's out there, but it's amazing to me how few people have a database with past clients, friends, family, and acquaintances that you can constantly be dripping information on, and it is just an absolute gold mine, and it's right underneath our noses. So many times we're out there trying to figure out, where do I get a deal from somebody I don't know instead of trying to do business with people that you do know. And it's a very common thing. It's a very, very common thing.
Well, you're scared to sell people, right? That was my problem. I didn't want to sell my friends and sell the people that I knew, and And then when you realize when you're just going out to coffee and lunch and dinner, and that's part of our schedule every week, how many coffees, lunches, and dinners can we line up with our clients, right? So if we're going and hitting that.
And you're not going out to coffee, lunch, or dinner to go talk about real estate. You're just doing to go get connected. And of course, they ask you how the market is.
Yep.
Right?
And then they want to send you business. And then you start to learn who do you have that's connected. You know, a good friend of ours who's a client as well runs an investment company in downtown Los Gatos, right? We're taking him out to lunch for his birthday today. And it's like, you know, he's a great guy, he's good and connected, but he's doing everything he can to feed us business as well. And so it's, you know, just being nice and being real is all it takes to work your sphere.
And the texts, the coffees, the lunches, I think, are huge. So what advice would you have for an agent that was new in the business or an agent who was just really struggling? I mean, again, we know in this business, you know, probably, you know, 20% of the people, or maybe even 20% of the people are making 80% of the money, or maybe even 10% of the people are making 90% of the money, which means the majority of people are just scrapping and clawing for that little bit left over. You know, if you were one of those people and you know, and they were your employee, what would you tell them that they had to do on a daily basis in order to be able to get to the point where they could hopefully get in that top 20% making 80% of the money?
Well, schedule.
Yeah.
We talked about that. Have a schedule and prospect. You can't put any weight on that. But when you prospect, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And that's what a lot of people do. Well, I like to do this, but I don't like to do this. So I'm just going to do this, right? Do this, 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 this. Have different pillars. That's one of the things that Tom drove down our throats.
Yeah.
Have different pillars. We have 5 pillars to our business and a 6th that we're working on. So have those pillars, measure where all that business is coming from, what's working on there. But we're working 5 different systems. So like this year, you know, we do a lot of farming, but our farm there's no inventory. Nothing's come out of our farm. So, and that's what happened when the market pulled out from us, right? Oh, there's no business, nothing in our farm, we're done.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't for the sphere and the business to business and how we work in open houses.
So you talked about the 5, and I know Tom talks about, you know, there's 27 or 30 or 35, whatever different ways that you can go out about getting business, and you have to identify the 4 or 5 or 6 ones that really kind of capitalize on your strengths. Copy with business. What are the 5 that you're doing? Do you know off the top of your head? What is the 6 you're working on?
So sphere and farming and open house and business to business. So, and then the online marketing is the piece that's going on. And then for us, outside of that online marketing, it's kind of a separate tier of online marketing that we're trying to pull in with all the Zillow stuff and everything. But we don't buy Zillow. So the reviews, if you guys aren't listening to here, get all the reviews you can on Zillow. I'll stress that now. People are calling us just because of our reviews on Zillow. Just calling us, hey, we're interested in doing a transaction because I saw your reviews on Zillow. I can't stress that enough.
So here's the interesting thing, and I've talked about this before too. So, you know, and Mark Tatar and I have talked about this when I did an interview with him, and Kim, I think everybody I've brought up here is, you know, what's the experience people get when they Google you? You know, so whether they're going to Zillow or whatever, you know, and so Google yourself. Like right after this meeting, I would challenge everybody, go Google your name and see what do people see, because that's what people are going to do typically before they do business with you, especially sellers. Right. You know, so if that experience isn't good, it's not professional, it doesn't reflect your own brand and image, because you have to, you know, does that online experience that a customer gets or a prospective customer get, does it really represent your brand and image and what you have to offer? And again, more times than not, it's been my experience with every realtor that their online image sucks. Okay? And it's not that, you know, you need to go buying Zillow stuff and anything, but it's just taking the tools, even taking your Intero website and making sure, and I've talked about this at these meetings over and over again, investing a little bit of time and make sure there's a good quality photograph of yourself up there. Make sure you have a bio about yourself. Make sure you maybe have some useful links in there. So not that even anybody is going to go there to use your website, but they're just going to go there to check you out. And again, whether they use your website or not, if it looks cool and it looks like you got a lot of valuable tools and it looks like you're professional, it looks like you got your stuff going on, you're going to get deals. But if you don't do that, you're literally all the hard work that you're doing, the door knocking, the calls, even the lunches, coffees, and it's a waste, because that's something that I think everybody's going to do on a regular basis.
They're going to go and check. We meet on a regular basis that we just sit down and go through all of our online stuff and look at it again. We hash it all again. Okay, we change it. Oh, we need to do this. We need to do this. What's looking good here? What's not? What are people looking for? Yeah. Right. That's important.
Cool. Good. All right. Any other just specific questions from anybody here at all? Want me to ask?
Keith, what did you mean by business to business?
Business to business is any type of entity out there that is also going to send me business that works with people that are going to be buying and selling real estate on a regular basis, right? Attorneys, lenders, financial advisors, all of that. So those are a really big source of business, and we're really finding that out. 25% of our business this year is from that, and that's something last year I was like, we're gonna start scraping into this and making this a big point of our business because they're dealing with it all the time. Why not? They need some place to send it.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So one of the other things, and I used to get, when I was doing deals, I used to get a lot of business from my accountant and those kinds of things. And the funny thing is I never really went out of my way. It was never a condition of me using him or referring him business. It was never a condition that I needed business in return. It wasn't I'm only going to give this to you if you give this back to me. Because I think that most of the time backfires. Would you agree?
I would agree. Yes.
I think that, and I think a lot of agents do that. It's like whether it be, with a lender or whoever, like, hey, I'm only going to use you if you refer me a deal.
Right.
And I think that's just kind of, I think that's backwards thinking. I think you just need to kind of be a giver to to get in return. And so what's kind of how do you establish that relationship? Like initially, especially maybe with somebody, like my CPA, I was using him all the time, and of course he was on my center of influence, and I would be mailing him stuff and emailing him stuff, and I'd be calling him and having lunch on a regular basis. I never really went out of my way to ask him for referrals, but here's the interesting thing. You guys all know who Andy Wong is? Andy Wong, one of the top 1%. Andy Wong works at Intero today because my accountant referred him to me when he was a brand new licensee. That's the only reason we even know who Andy Wong is at this point. And I never asked him, but it was just kind of over the years of doing that. So what's your kind of approach on that? Or do you have a system?
No, the real approach to it is be real, number one,
Yeah.
right? Don't be a salesman, right? Be yourself. And number two, provide the business to them, right? You want to earn their respect, right? You want to be giving them business so they see kind of how you work. The main reason to give them business is so they get a chance to work with you, right? They get to see how you work and how you operate. And then when you're having those conversations and talks, they're going to ask questions about real estate and just know what's going on. Know your inventory, know what's happening. Know that when they come to ask you a question, oh, this person knows what they're talking about. So I'm going to send somebody that's important to me to them because this is the person that knows what they're saying. Okay, and that is critical. It really is. And then
Knowledge is power.
Yep, and then eventually, so do you know anybody?
Yeah.
Right? Eventually hit that out there, but not off the gate.
Yeah.
Not Mike Ferry style.
Yeah,
So right off the gate.
Backdoor. I always like that,
Yep.
just like more subtle. Same thing, I talk about, when you're trying to hook up with, like you said, I was always the same way, and I think it's always a little bit awkward when you've got your friends and you want to ask them for business. How do you do it? And I was always the same way. It's like, hey, let's just grab coffee. It's like, hey, it's been a while, Rob. I haven't seen you, man. Let's just go grab a cup of coffee at Starbucks on the way to work. And I don't even has nothing to do with real estate. And matter of fact, all I ask them about is their kids and what's going on with this and that. And the next thing you know, it's like, hey, how's the market? And so it's kind of just backdooring it as opposed to kind of walking right through the front door and just kind of being the cheesy real estate salesperson, which I don't think is good. Mo.
How important is it to work with your lender partners?
It's a good question, Monique.
See, now look at him. Mo's working it. I like it, which is smart. That's good. I mean, that's her job. That's her job. And that's, again, the reality of it is that's what a good salesperson does. Is she's going to ask because she probably already knows perhaps what Keith would say.
Yeah. How do you guide your borrowers to using your lender partners?
So I'll give you part of the question you'll like and part you won't like. Number one, yes, I do use Western Bancorp, but I use two others as well.
I know.
So, see, I know that. And the reason for that, Western Bancorp's fantastic, and what we have there is, it's my favorite. We use Terry all the time. She's excellent. We also have a Wells and a B of A. And the reason we have them is because some people, that's all they're going to use. I have to use a Wells guy, I have to use a B of A guy. So we have them on. So if they're going to use a Wells or B of A guy, we don't want to be stuck with some schmo, okay, that doesn't know what they're doing, and we have problems in the transaction. So we're like, here, let's bring this one and let's go that one. So, and then just because the fact that we're referring business to all these, the business comes back as well, and that was one of those pieces that happened. Boom, they're referring people back, and we didn't ask for it, it just started coming. And so that was the piece, but that's the answer. I'd like to be protected, to protect my clients against anything, and to know that I can still kind of have your guidance, right, in the process. You were talking about client control. Have that guidance in the process to make sure you're not having unexpected problems. Because if you don't have a relationship with your lender, to come back to your beginning, that's when you're going to have problems as a realtor. Because if a lender doesn't have a relationship with you, they could care less. They don't care if you close on time. They don't care what's happening. They're always going to have something to go. But if there's a relationship with the realtor, there's a lot more pressure to do everything boom, boom, boom.
Any other questions? Anybody else? All right, man. Keith,
Okay.
thanks so
Tom,
much for
thank
coming.
you.
Totally
Thanks a
appreciate it. It was
lot.
awesome,
So,
guys.
thank
So, hey, everybody, thanks for coming. We will, are we having a sales meeting next week, Kelly? I don't think we are. We are. We're having a sales meeting next week. Everyone have an awesome rest of this week. If I can help out with anything, let me know.